Okay, this reminded me of a good story here. Right in front of me, we have a Lotus Elise. We don't have too many of these here in the U.S., in Hawaii at least, because there's only so many places that you can go. But this bike, this car right here, this Lotus Elise, brings me back some fond memories. You see, there was a time when I dated one gal and I broke up with her. And I was so bummed out, and this wasn't my first relationship, and I knew that I'll go through this withdrawal cycle and sadness cycle. So what I decided to do was, I decided, I want to be creative and try something different that would involve taking care of myself and nursing myself back to emotional happiness. And what I did was, I decided, you know what, oh, and at the time I had a little software business. At the time, Windows 95 was taking off. Not everybody was on the internet. And I was selling Microsoft software. And this was before, like, CompuTay was built here in Hawaii. And a lot of computer shops were fairly small. And so I sold software, wholesale, retail, whatever. And made a whole bunch of money in a short period of time. Anyway, when I broke up with the gal, I told myself, you know what? I'm gonna buy a Ferrari. and I looked for a used Ferrari, and I figured this: I'm gonna buy a Ferrari, and I'm gonna drive it around. I'm gonna feel good, and then I'm not gonna be sad, and then and sell it. Buy a used one for a good price and sell it for about the same. I wouldn't lose money on it. So I looked, couldn't find a Ferrari. Okay, let me look for a Lamborghini. And I looked, I either found one or didn't find one, or maybe like Ferrari was totally out of my price range. I really didn't have the money. So I came across a Lotus. I go, Lotus. Now, wait a minute, isn't that an exotic car? Okay. So I find this Lotus, and it turns out that there's a lot of foreign students, foreign university students that come to Hawaii to study. And the way the taxation system works in foreign countries like Singapore, Singapore is the worst, but let me just go off on Singapore first. A $40,000 BMW here in the United States would cost $120,000 to $140,000 in Singapore because of there's a 400% tax thing they got going there. It's crazy. It's really ridiculous. So when they come to the U.S., to spend $60,000 on a car, it's actually quite trivial. A Honda that costs $20,000 here would cost $80,000 in Singapore, and it would cost like $40,000 in Taiwan. It'd be double. Okay, so anyway, this Lotus my Lotus was the same color. I ended up buying one from a foreign student. He had graduated and his visa expired, and I bought the exact same color. They call it color chrome yellow. They 5 parts yellow and 1 part red. Get that yellow Ferrari yellow called chrome yellow. All right, so what happened? Oh yeah, so I broke up, and then in the meanwhile, I ended up. What did I do? I was shopping around, and then I broke up, and then what happened? Okay, so the day after I broke up, I ended up picking up the car, and I didn't know how to drive stick. I didn't know how to drive manual. Of course I do now, because the motorcycle is completely manual. And so I bought the car. I didn't even test drive it. I told them to leave in the parking lot and give them the money. And I took them home in my car, my Acura Integra, and I taught myself how to drive stick in the parking lot. And I did that for a few hours, and finally I decided to go around the neighborhood. I did that for about an hour, and I remember driving it past midnight. It's a convertible, by the way, a 91 Lotus Elan. They only had 500 of them that entered the U.S., and they only made one year, 1991. So deal with Uh, Man, that must be uncomfortable. So the deal with that is, when I bought the car, I decided I was going to spread my happiness. Every single person that was my friend or even somewhat okay friends to me, I let them drive it. I told them, you want to try it? And a lot of people got to drive it and drove it all over the place. Of course, I'd have them, let them take it for a spin around the block, and they respectfully drove it. They didn't crash or harm it or anything. But it was a good thing because I was able to spread the love and spread the experience. I'm big on experiences. At least having this happen to you once in your life, to be able to say that you did it. I thought, I wanted to live an interesting life way back when, way back when I was still into that, having unique experiences. That's kind of like my thing, okay? So I really like that. I thought, oh, okay. So if I learned how to drive stick on a Ferrari, that would be really cool. But it never happened. I did learn to drive stick on a Lotus, taught myself, and I didn't grind gears, believe it or not. I did not grind gears. I was very careful and drove it gingerly, and well, actually I drove it kind of hard after I got good at it, but I had it for 8 months, and when the 8 months was done, I had no such heartache, and that was it. It was, I sold it, and that was a good memory. I remember I shared that with a lot of people, shared the good times. It was good. Kind of wish I had it now. It'd be really cool. So here it is. I broke my brake lever this morning because I was trying to tease a dog. Stupid. What an idiot, aren't I? Okay, so I'm just going strictly by rear brake. Ooh, here we go. I'm gonna pull in. I'm gonna pull in here since I need it. Yeah.